What is really escalating at the moment is online violence.
And a lot of these women are actually slut-shamed.
It doesn't only affect the women themselves, but it also affects their families.
One of the women indicated that even though she reported the spreading of these fake nude pictures, the police could not do anything to assist her.
Because this is the level closest to the people and closest in terms of service delivery, it's also very competitive. And what happens on this level is that women are often threatened. They're threatened with physical violence, they're threatened with sexual violence, and their families are threatened.
This is the type of violence that is targeted at women to keep political power out of the hands of women.
Women whose pictures are being abused and who have very degrading comments on their WhatsApp and Facebook.
Doctored pictures or photoshopped pictures of them to try and deter them or intimidate them from participating in the elections.
This goes to the heart of political competition and participation. For years, feminists and gender scholars have made arguments for why we need to include women in legislatures. And for this, we've worked very hard to get gender quotas. So we've seen now through research that the gender quotas are actually quite successful to get women in. But there is no point in only looking at that side of the equation if we don't look at what happens to them on the way there or when they're in there.
Society does not dwell so much on personal lives for men, does not judge men who are trying to be in public office, because that is naturalized as something that is a norm, that men are leaders. When you are a woman then trying to get into politics, you are viewed as something that is novel. And a lot of the questions that are asked have nothing to do with your capacity as a leader, but your capacity to be able to manage the domestic sphere and the public sphere, issues that are never really asked about men. There are people who still hold cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, social beliefs, that men are the most legitimate political actors, and that women who enter into politics are not women of good character or are not women of good morals. Women are also sexually harassed in much larger proportion when they are participating in politics. The men that are experienced and are already in politics making positions in politics transactional, where they would say, if you want me to highlight or illuminate you as a person that will be getting into politics, you will have to sleep with me first.
We actually see a mixed picture. On the one hand, the women are discouraged. They also experienced mental health issues and depression. They account of how some of these words are lingering in their minds. But there's also a group of women that gets even more determined and wants to continue and get more empowered and say, I really need to show that I can stand up for this, and also wants to fight these types of gendered electoral violence. For the political parties, it is imperative that there is a zero tolerance for gendered electoral violence, and then that the political parties potentially exclude perpetrators.
Well, I think this type of violence cannot be addressed by an individual, and it cannot be expected from the victims to deal with it. So what we need, for example, in terms of online violence, is policy making and the making of laws, legislative reform. And in that regard, policymakers and members of parliament have to come on board. But we also have to get parties on board, because, it is members of party. Very often this violence is intra-party related. So it's factions inside parties fighting with each other and fighting against each other's candidates. So it needs to be a collective process of finding a solution, because it cannot be only left to individuals to deal with it.